Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I'm the teacher Bronwyn Slate. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and also on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You are always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled from Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are in our first week of our 9-week course. It is pretty early, but it's good to know what work you need to submit so you can be prepared. The support questions from your IL booklet are the ones with the pencil icon, and they are not for marking, they are practice problems. So you decide which ones of them to do and how many. If you are understanding a concept, feel free to skip problems. That's fine, you know yourself best. But if you also need more questions and more practice, please feel free to reach out to me and ask, and I can hook you up. However, the key questions, the ones with the key icon, are the ones to submit for marking. So please do all of these questions, showing me all of your work, your steps, and your thinking. This way I can give you credit for all of your understanding. And if you are making errors, it gives me information about where you're making errors and why. If you only give me the answer, then I have very limited information and I can't really support you. So the more information you give me, the better. So then how do you submit your work? So the first method is to scan and send your work in electronically. So if you scan your completed work using a device, you can use an Apple device. They have Notes, the Notes app, which comes with the just with the device, and the Android devices have a Google Drive app. Both are fairly straightforward. And then you can then it's easier to scan and send me one file opposed to taking pictures. You can take pictures if you need to, that's okay. But if you scan them, the files are a little bit easier to send. Then you can send it to me either through email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. Or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger to bslatewasa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our location at 74 Front Street. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. We are not yet open to the public, so just put your work in there and I will get it and get it back to you as soon as I can. Then the third method is to hand your work into your DEC. So your DC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. You are also welcome to fax your work if you have access to a fax machine. If you want to connect with me through social media, it's a great way to talk, ask questions, and also access some of the resources that I've created to support you in your class. So both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B Slate Wahsa. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and I post them shortly after airing to YouTube and I share them on Facebook. Also, I have short videos explaining common errors and confusing concepts that I have on my YouTube channel, as well as a few technology tutorials or things that can just help with both the math in your class, but also just the technology and accessing the course. All of our class material is under a playlist called MEL3E. And there's an archive of previous years if you want to go ahead and look at future lessons, though I'm updating as I go. So things might be a little bit better prepared and better presented this year than last year, as I'm always learning and doing better as I can. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the YouTube videos if you can. If you can't join us live, joining us live is also great through Zoom. But if you can't do that and you struggle to access the YouTube videos because you don't have reliable internet or something like that, reach out to me and let me know, and I can send you a copy of the recording so that you can still access and get the full experience, even without having reliable internet. So if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is bslate Wahsa. My phone number is at the office is 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or you can call toll free at 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sorry, 8 to 2, my bad. But I teach from 9 till 11, so you can't, if you call me during that time, I won't be available. All right, so let's dive into today's lesson. We're doing lesson number 2 from your IEL book, which is commission and hourly rate. So our learning goals for this lesson are that at the end of this lesson, you can calculate overtime, time and a half, regular and total pay for a variety of salary scenarios, and you can create a budget for a salary based on commission. So you know you've met these learning goals because you know how to calculate earnings based on hourly rates of pay. You can calculate overtime earnings, and you can explain how commission works and calculate the earnings. So answering the question, when will I use this in real life, as this is the most common question I get as a teacher? Well, we're learning how to see the whole picture. So it's good to just be able to do the math, but also seeing how it's connected and how it all works out together in our lives is really important, to step back and see the whole thing. And that's part of what we're doing in this course. All right, but first let's activate our brain with a bit of mental math. Many of us experienced mad math minutes when we were in elementary school, where we had to sit in a desk with a piece of paper and a pencil in our hand and answer as many facts as we could in a minute. And this caused a lot of stress and anxiety in many of us and did not really teach us anything about our facts. Either we knew them or we didn't, and we either felt success or felt stress. So instead of focusing on that as a strategy, we develop strategies that you can use in various situations that are not focused on speed, as math is not about speed, it's about understanding and connecting ideas. And so we spend time in every class to just get our brains going and doing some arithmetic that helps us have different strategies that we can apply in various situations. So our question today is 36 take away 19. And we're going to use an open number line, which is not something that I experienced as a student. I didn't learn about this until I'd already been teaching for a few years, but it's a really useful tool to help us organize our information. So again, this is something that you can write, or you can also just visualize in your head if that works for you. There's no one right way to do this. This is just a strategy that you can use in various scenarios, and you can do it in a couple of different ways, whatever works best for you. So I draw an number line, which usually you can like write your little tick marks and set all your numbers, but with an open number line, we don't set what our numbers are. It's just sort of a guide. So I'm starting at 36. So I'm putting 36 at the far right of my number line because I'm subtracting, I'm going to be taking away. So I'm going to be back towards 0, and 0 we put at our left, or our lower numbers are towards our left, our higher numbers are towards our right. So I'm going to subtract 19. And this can be a tricky one because if I set this up like a classic problem, I'd have to borrow. And that is a thing that many folks struggle with. Many people spend years and years practicing those mad math minutes and doing the same mistakes over and over again because they don't have any other tools. So this is a tool that hopefully can help. So I can't, if I were to subtract 19 from 36, I don't know where it would end up. So I'm going to take it apart in pieces, in friendly numbers. So first, I'm just going to take away 6. And if I take away 6, I end up at 30. So that's part of my 19. I've already taken away 6. And now I'm going to take away 10 because that's another friendly number. And so if I take away 10, I'm going to get to 20. It's okay that my jumps are not proportional. This is not about an exact. This is just about visualizing and getting the rough idea. So now I've taken away 10 and 6. So that's, I've taken away 16. So I still need to take away another 3 in order to take away 19 in total. So if I take away 3 from 20, that's going to get me to 17. Now, if I don't know the jumping from, if I'm not sure about going back from 20 to 17, I could go back by ones. I could take away 1. So that would be 19, 2, 18, 3, 17. I could go back by ones if that's would be better for me opposed to jumping back by 3 altogether. And so in total, I can say 36 take away 19 is 17. And doing it in these friendly numbers, which I could do it in different combinations. So again, this isn't the only way to do it. But these numbers were friendly for me. And so then it was more straightforward for me to go from 36, taking away 19 to get to 17. It actually makes sense to me opposed to just stacking them and hoping for the best. All right, so mine's on. What do we need to know for our lesson today? We need to remember how to calculate percentages, which can be confusing for folks sometimes. So percentage comes from the Latin word by the 100. So you divide your number by 100 to figure out what a percentage is. So that is what you're trying to figure out what it is per 100. So one thing to remember is that when we write 1/2, like a fraction, 1/2 is equal to 1 divided by 2. So I will probably switch back and forth between these two different ways of writing division, but they're both division. So for example, if I have 7%, so I have 7, I have the percent sign, so the slash with 2 little O's on either side of the slash is equal to 7 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.07. You would put that into a calculator, 7 divided by 100, you would get 0.07. If I have 12%, so that would be 12 divided by 100, which is 0.12. If I have 1 1/4%, so I'm going to, here I have 1/4 written as a fraction, so I'm going to convert it into a decimal. So I know that 1/4 is the same as 0.25. So I'm going to have 1.25 divided by 100 is equal to 0.0125. 3.5 is 3.5 divided, 3.5% is equal to 3.5 divided by 100, which is 0.035. And 24.75% is equal to 24.75 divided by 100, which is 0.2475. As you get more comfortable and more practice doing this, you might recognize a pattern, or you might be able to see sort of how to translate your percentage into your decimal without using your calculator. That's fine. Continuing to do your calculator is totally fine too. Whatever works best for you and makes you most comfortable. If you already have a decimal in your percentage, so you have 19.83%, so you do 19.83 divided by 100 and you get 0.1983. Your percentages don't have to be, all of my examples are less than 1. You'll see I always have 0 point something. Percentages don't have to be like that, but all of my numbers you'll see are less than 100. So if my number was more than 100, then it would be one, like if it was 119, it would be 1.19. I probably should add that as an example. Anyway, that is, percentages are something that's going to keep coming up throughout our entire course, so it's something you need to get comfortable with. All right, so let's dive into our new learning. What is our hourly rate and overtime? What does that mean? So this is on page 11 of your IEL book. Your hourly rate is what we're going to start with. And this is when an employee, so the person who works, is paid a fixed income per hour, regardless of the amount of work done or assigned. So you're getting paid per time, opposed to like piecework, where you're getting paid per thing or per job. Common jobs that are hourly rates are retail workers, people who work in stores, servers, people who work in restaurants or bars, custodians, childcare workers. These folks generally are getting an hourly rate of pay, so they have to clock in the number of hours that they're working. In Ontario, the hourly rate has changed over the last few years. So minimum wage is something that you may have heard of, which people have been advocating and fighting for to become more of a living wage. For a long time, it was not enough money to survive on. It's still low, but it is getting better. So general minimum wage is it has changed over the last few years. So we're going to be working with it in this category between January 1st, 2022 and September 30th, 2022, which is right now. So we're going to stick with it being $15 per hour, even though come October, it's going to go up to $15.50, which is great. But for this term, we're going to just leave it at $15 per hour. And effective as of January 1st, 2022, there used to be a special minimum wage that was applied to liquor servers. So people worked in restaurants. They did not make as much money because they were thought that tips, it was justified that tips added up. That wasn't actually happening, and people who were working in the service industry were not making enough to survive. So they also get $15 per hour, which is great. So then there is a student minimum wage, which is $14.10 per hour, which is if you are a youth, so under 18 and a student. And then there's also hunting, fishing, wilderness guides, minimum wage, and home workers wage, which are good to know, but we're going to be focusing on the general minimum wage of $15 per hour and possibly student minimum wage. But as most of our students are adults, the general minimum wage would apply to you even if you are a student and working. You are not a youth and a student, you are an adult, and so you would be experiencing, you should get the general minimum wage of $15 per hour for September, and then going up to $15.50 per hour come October. So then overtime, which is also on page 11 of your IL book. So this is when your hourly rate workers, so people who work at an hourly rate, work beyond the regular daily or weekly hours given. So not only do you have a set amount of money that you make per hour, you have a set number of hours you're supposed to work per day and per week. And if you work over that, you get paid more money. So the rate is usually called time and a half, which is 1.5 times your regular rate. It doesn't have to be time and a half. It can be something more. Your employer might decide to do double time, but it has to be at least time and a half, so at least 1.5 times the regular rate, and it applies for all work above and beyond 44 hours a week. So again, your employer might decide that they're going to pay you overtime for less than that, but if they have to pay you overtime for more than 44 hours a week. So this often happens when there is a labor shortage. So if an employer needs someone to stay on because, say, you work at a hospital and the next person who's supposed to come on a shift can't come on, and so you need to work an extra shift, or you need to work part of an extra shift, then you're working more than your usual time, and so you would get paid time and a half for that extra part that you worked. It also happens during busy or holiday periods. So when people, often around Christmas, as where our society is sort of structured around those Christian holidays. And it's really, really busy in retail stores. And so they hire more workers, or they need people to work longer shifts again because they extend their hours so that people can shop more. Also on statutory holidays, so like Labor Day this week, if somebody, like here in Sioux Lookout, Giant Tiger was open, but it was a statutory holiday, so they had to pay their workers overtime because it was they didn't legally it is supposed to be a holiday. It's supposed to be, people are not supposed to have to work. And so if organization is choosing to be open, then they need to pay their employees more. All right, so let's look at an example about how these wages work. So Alex has a job at Lakeshore Arena as a Zamboni driver. They are paid minimum wage and usually work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. How much does Alex earn a week? So how we figure this out, so we know that minimum wage, because I didn't say that it's student minimum wage we're saying is $15. So that means that per day, we do 15 times 8 to figure out how much that person works, Alex works, how much they get paid in a day. So 15 times 8, we can use our calculator. 15 times 8, you could also totally do this in your head if you wanted to, is 120. So for every day, Alex gets paid $120. For a week, so for 5 days, because Alex works 5 days a week, so that we would do 5 times 120. So 5 times 120, well, 5 times 100 is going to be 500, and 5 times 20 is going to be 100. So that's going to be 600. So Alex earns $600 a week. And that's how you figure out hourly pay. All right, so example 2, Paige is paid $16.10 an hour. That is the other thing, is that you can, organizations, companies can pay you more than minimum wage. This is how they take care of their workers, how they entice workers to come and work for them. You don't have to just pay minimum wage. That's just the lowest that you can pay legally. If you're getting paid less than minimum wage, then it is not legal work, and you could fight to get that changed so that you are getting legal pay, but you can get paid more than that. So this example, Paige is paid $16.10 per hour for 40 hours per week. Kendallin is paid $15.75 hours for 38 hours a week. If either work more than their usual hours, they get paid time and a half. If they both worked 46 hours in 1 week, who gets paid more? So there's a lot going on in this question. So first we need to figure out for 2 different people, because we're comparing. So we have Paige and we have Kendallin. So let's just focus on Paige to start with. So if Paige, so for regular time, so the regular rate is $16.10 times 40 hours. That's how much Paige usually gets paid per week. So let's calculate what that is. So 1610 times 40 is equal to $644. So Paige usually makes $644. But for the overtime, we need to figure out 2 things. We need to figure out the rate, and we need to figure out the number of hours. So the rate we said was paid time and a half. So that's 1.5. So we do 1610, that's the usual rate, times 1.5. So 1610, 1610 times 1.5, that's time and a half, is equal to 24.15. So that means that for overtime, Paige gets paid 24.15 for every overtime hour that they work. the number of hours that counts for. So they worked 46 hours in that week. So do they get paid overtime for 46 hours? No, because 40 hours is their usual amount that they're supposed to work. So we do 46, take away 40 to figure out that they only work 6 extra hours. So then we do our rate, $24.15 times 6 to figure out how much the money they get paid for that overtime, those 6 hours that are overtime. So that's $144.90. $144.90. So the total is the regular $644 plus the $144.90 of overtime, which is equal to $788.90. That's how much Paige would make working this 1 week with 46 hours. So see how I've organized my information with telling me sort of, I've labeled it with regular, overtime, the rate, the number of hours. Sorry, my writing isn't the neatest on this platform. I'm not the best writing. I'll hopefully get better with practice, but having it organized with some titles helps us understand what it is that we're talking about. So that can be a really useful strategy instead of just having your numbers all written down and having to guess what and having to remember what they are. And then I have to guess what they are. Giving me some sort of labels can really help to keep your information organized and keep yourself on track so that you know that you haven't missed anything, that you haven't just ended up at 64 or 644 and think that you're done. Then I can see, oh, well, if you do the regular, you know that you've done the regular, then you need to figure out the overtime. And that helps me figure out what information you might be missing. And maybe you get to the end of the overtime and then you just stop. You forget to figure out what the total is. I can give you credit for what you do understand, and you only lose marks for what you've missed out if you give me this information, where opposed to if you just give me a number, then I don't know where that number came from. All right, then Kendallin. So we've done Paige, now we need Kendallin because we're comparing the two. So Kendallin for regular gets paid $15.75 for 38 hours a week. So let's figure out how much her usual pay is. So $15.75 times 38 is equal to $598.50. So usually $598.50 is how much Kendallin gets paid a week. So then for overtime, we need to figure this out as well. So still, we need to use Kendallin's information. So we're going to do the rate, which is $15.75 times 1.5 for the time and the half. So $15.75 times 1.5 is equal to $23.62.5. So we're going to round that up, right? This 5 is greater than, it's 5 or up, right? So we round up to 62 cents. So $23.63, sorry, is the rate. $23.63 is the rate that Kendallin gets paid for overtime. And the number of hours. So again, we had 46 hours worked in total, but for Kendallin, 38 hours is the regular work week. So we have to do 46 take away 38, which means that we're going to end up with 8 hours of overtime for Kendallin. So $23.63 times 8 is how much overtime money she would make. So put that into a calculator and we get $189.04. So then the total is $598.50 plus $189.04. And that equals do it on our calculator. The nice thing about Desmos is you make a mistake, you can go back, you can erase it pretty easily and see it. $787.54. $787.54. So then how we answer the actual question, we have to go back and say, if they both work 46 hours in 1 week, who gets paid more? So we can compare. Well, it looks like Paige gets paid just a little bit more, like $1.50 more than Kenlin does, but Paige gets paid more. So if you were to just tell me that Paige gets paid more, yes, you'd be technically right, and I would give you 1 mark for that, but I wouldn't give you any marks for any of the other math because I want to see the reasoning behind. I want to see how you know that for sure, opposed to just guessing 50-50%, like just saying, okay, I think it's going to be Paige. I want you to prove it. But that's how you would do that sort of question. All right, so now you are ready to do the support questions on page 12, questions 1 and 2. And now let's look at commission. So commission, this is on page 13 of your IO booklet. And commission is when you are making your earnings based on how much you sell. So there's straight commission, which is when your earnings are 100% commission. So however much you sell, you get a percentage of that. If you don't sell anything, you don't get any money. And there's also graduated commission, which is part salary and part commission. So that means that you have a set amount that you're always getting paid and everything, then your commission is earned on top of that, which means that if you don't sell anything, you still get paid a little bit. So the rate varies really by industry, by employer, by the position, by experience. There isn't a set amount that commission always has to be. There is more variability here, but usually it's between 5% and up to 50% commission of your sales. So that's 5% to 50% of how much you sell in total. So this often happens in telemarketers. So this is often why telemarketers, when they call you, they really want to talk to you, they really want to sell you because they make more money depending on how much they sell. Car sales representatives, so also the same. And retail workers, when you are going to a store and everybody asks if they can help you, this is probably because they're getting paid on commission, so they want to be the one to help you if they get a part of the sale based on who it is that helped you, and that changes the sort of dynamic within the in the workplace. And also MLM, so multi-level marketing structures, which are like pyramid structures, which also can be thought of as pyramid schemes. So people get paid when they sell. How much they sell is they get a portion of that amount of money. So let's look at an example. Cody works at a music store. He earns a salary of $210 a week plus 7% commission. 1 week he sold $4,200 worth of musical equipment. How much did he earn? So because we see that it has a salary of $210 a week, so that no matter what, if Cody were to sell nothing at all, he would get $210. So we have to remember to add that on once we figure out the commission, because that happens no matter what. But to figure out the commission, so the commission is 7% of his total sales. So 7% times the total amount he sold, which is $4,200. So remember, 7% is 7 divided by 100, so 0.07 times 4,200. Now your calculator might have a button that you could just press. That happens sometimes. So like here, this is the percentage button. So I can just do 7%. And then it says of, so that's going to be times to 4,200, and that's $294. But you can also do 0.07 times 4,200, and you're going to get the same number. This is the same calculation. Your calculator might just do it different ways. You can use that button. You just have to make sure that your calculator, you're using it correctly and your calculator's not making mistakes. Don't trust your calculator just because it gives you an answer. You have to make sure that it makes sense, because buttons are easily pressed. Buttons are usually, often I find that you press a button and it doesn't acknowledge it. The calculator doesn't recognize that you pressed it, and so they miss information. So yes, your calculator is a great tool, but you are still the brains behind the operation. So you still need to make sure that your answer makes sense. So for this, the commission is $294. So Cody makes $294 more than his salary because he sold this much musical equipment. So his total is going to be $210 for the salary plus $294. So that's 200 and 200 is 400, and 100, sorry, 10 plus 90 is another 100. So that's going to be $504. So that's how much he earned. It's a really good idea to write a sentence. Often your book asks you to write a sentence, but even if it doesn't, it can be good to write one, because then you know, make sure you're answering the questions. So if you just tell me 294, yes, that's part of the information, but that's not how much you earned in the week in total. So you need to make sure you add on that extra part. So going back to the question and make sure you're actually answering the question is really important. All right, example number 2. Bianca works part-time selling cosmetics. She is paid 25% of her total sales. Her sales for 1 week were Monday, $82, Tuesday, $94, Wednesday, $67, Thursday, $180, Friday, $96. Calculated her earnings for the week. So she gets paid 25% of her total sales. In this case, do we have a standard salary that she automatically gets? No. So we don't need to worry about adding that on at the end, but we do need to remember that we're doing it for the total. So we're doing it for all of these added up. Now, we could do it individually, but we can also, it's going to be less work if we add them up all up first and then multiply it by 25%. So first, we're going to do total sales. We're going to figure that out. Again, you could do this slightly differently, and it's okay to do it differently than I do it, but this is how I think is the most straightforward way. So we're going to do 82 plus 94 plus 67 plus 180 plus 96. How much does that equal? Again, you could also do this by hand or in your head if you wanted to. I'm going to do it on the calculator just because so I like to mix it up. I like to do the calculator sometimes and in my head the other time sometimes. And I also don't want to make a mistake, which I might if I do it in my head. So that's $519. So for that week, Bianca's total sales were $519. That's how much money she made for the company in total. But she gets paid 25%. So her commission, how much the company is going to pay her, is 25% of $519. So that's 0.25 times 519. So then we calculate that, and that's $129.75. So that's how much her earnings are for that 1 week. So part B, calculate her annual earnings, assuming she sells this amount each week consistently. So if we imagine that for every week, she makes $129.75. Is that what it was? Let me just quickly check. Yes. Then if she sells this for 52 weeks in a year, so we do 52 times 129.75. Now, because it didn't tell us that It just says assume this amount each week consistently. So we're assuming for every single week in a year. So we do 129.75 times 52 is equal to $6,747. So that's how much money she would make in a year selling cosmetics. All right, so that's how you do commission. So now you are ready to do the some more questions on page 13, questions 3 through 5. So you should be comfortable with both hourly pay and the commission questions at this point, hopefully. All right, so let's consolidate and connect all of the learning that we've done so far. So our highlights for lesson 2 for commission and hourly rates. Hourly rates are earnings based on how many hours you worked, and Canada and Ontario has a minimum wage. So the lowest the hourly rate can be for adults right now is $15 per hour. For overtime, this is usually 1.5 times the hourly rate, so time and a half is what it's called. And it's for any time worked over the usual daily or weekly hours. And then commission are your earnings are a percentage of the total sales. So you could have a base wage, that salary amount, plus commission, or it could just be commission. So let's see, have we met our success criteria? Have we learned what we needed to learn today? So do you know how to calculate earnings based on hourly pay, rates of pay? Can you calculate overtime earnings? And can you explain how commission works and calculate the earnings? If you can do those 3 things, then you've met the learning goals of this lesson and you are ready to do the key questions and submit them for marking. If you have questions about any of those things, feel free to reach out so I can support you with that. Or you can go back to YouTube and watch that portion of the video again, slow it down, pause it, take breaks, do some practice questions, go back. But also reach out and ask me questions, because sometimes asking questions directly is much more helpful than rewatching the same thing you've already watched. All right, so let's do a few more practice questions before we wrap up today. So number 1, Caitlin works full-time and is paid $21.40 for 35 hours a week. She is paid for 52 weeks of the year. What are her total earnings for 1 year? So this is an hourly rate of pay question because we know what her rate of pay is for the number of hours. And they're asking us for the total in 1 year. So first we're going to figure out how much she makes per week. And then we're going to figure out how much she makes per year. So for 1 week, it's going to be $21.40 per hour times 35 hours. So that on our calculator is 2140 times 35 is $749 a week. $749 is how much she makes per week. So for a year, because there's 52 weeks in a year and she gets paid for every one, we're going to do 52 times 749. So if we do 52 times 749, we get 38,948. 38,948. So Caitlin's earnings for 1 year are $38,948. And that's how we do an hourly rate pay. All right, number 2, Jack stocks shelves at a grocery store. He earns minimum wage for 37.5 hours each week. 1 week, a large shipment arrives late and Jack is asked to work overtime at time and a half. He works 4.5 hours of overtime. What are his total earnings for the week? So this time they tell us it's an overtime question, right? They're talking about overtime, so that's important to know. So we need to figure out his regular pay and his overtime pay. So regular pay is minimum wage. So remember, minimum wage is, we're doing $15. That's what it is right now. So $15 times 37.5 hours. That's how much money he would make in a usual week. So 15 times 37.5 hours is, so I was like, I looked and I said $5,812.50. And I was like, that seems like a really, really high number to be making in 1 week. That would mean that you're making like 20 grand in a month. That doesn't seem right. So if I look back, I can see, oh, I made a mistake. I pressed 5 twice. So I'm going to do it again. 15 times 37.5. Oh, and then here, this time, the 7 went in twice. So I'm not doing that on purpose. I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm just showing you how easy it showing how easy it is to make a mistake, even though you're pressing the buttons that you are the right buttons, but pressing something twice, not pressing something, happens so easily. So you want to be really careful, which is why I really like the Desmos calculator, is because you can see what it is that you put in, and so you know where you made the mistake. And now $562.50 makes much more sense to me, that was how much they would be making in a week. So that's why using your head is really, really important, not just trusting the numbers that come out of the calculator. So 562.50 is how much Jack makes in a week stocking shelves at a grocery store. So now to work for overtime, we need to figure out what his overtime rate is. So 15 times 1.5 is going to be the overtime rate. So 15 times 1.5, I think it's going to be 2250. Yeah, 2250. So you might get used to numbers because minimum wage is always $15 right now, and time and a half might consistently be 1.5. So overtime rate is always going to be $22.50. So then do we have to figure out how many hours? Oh, they tell us. In this case, they tell us that he worked for 4.5 hours extra. We don't have to figure out based on the total. We just know that it's 4.5 extra. So that means we do 4.5 hours times $22.50. So that is going to be our overtime time amount, is equal to $101.25. 101.25. So great. Have we answered the question? Nope. We have to go back and look. What are his total earnings for the week? So we still need to calculate the total. So the total is $562.50 plus $101.25 is equal to $663.75 is his total earnings for that week. So we really need to make sure that you're using all the pieces of information and answering the question that's being asked. All right, number 3, Joyce sells cars. She earns 35% commission on the profit of each sale. One week she sells 2 cars. The profits on the cars are $800 and $1,300. What are her earnings for that week? So is there any base rate, anything that she gets paid if she doesn't make any money, doesn't sell anything at all? No, doesn't mention it, so we don't have it. So we need to figure out her total profits. So the total profit is 800 plus 1,300. So that's going to be 800 plus 300 is going to be 1,100. So plus another 1,000 is going to be 2,100. So then her commission, because the total amount of profits we figured out, that's how much she made for the her employer. So it's 35% times $2,100. So 35% is 0.35 times 2,100, and that equals 0.35 times 2,100 is equal to $735. So Joyce makes $735 that week. And then we've answered the question. All right, so that is concludes our lesson for today. So hopefully you're feeling fairly comfortable with hourly rates of pay and commission. If you have any questions, please reach out and contact me. You can call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free at 1-800-667-3703. You can email me at bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. You can connect with me through Facebook at bslate Wahsa, or watch a repeat of this video as well as our other classes at bslate Wahsa on YouTube. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So feel free to reach out within that time or leave me a message and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a lovely day, and miigwech.